In this video, I'm going to be documenting starting off my art journal. I really wanted a sketchbook where I'm not held back by wanting everything to look perfect, and I really enjoy sketchbooks where the sketchbook itself is just as much as a part of the art as the actual art is. And I just wanted something different to a really pristine and polished looking sketchbook. I wanted it to be looser and be able to experiment more and make stuff where you can actually interact with the pages, like bits that fold out, pockets, pop-ups and stuff like that, maybe sticking some found materials inside. I think there's a lot more freedom in making drawings and paintings both inside and outside the sketchbook, because that way there's not the pressure to try to make it as perfect as possible, because if you don't like it, then you can just not stick it in the sketchbook. So I'm giving this a go for the first time in I don't know how many years, and it's kind of a cross between an art journal and a sketchbook. The video today is going to be a speed drawing of the title page. I needed something for the A5 size page, as I didn't want to have to use the back of the front cover even though it is white. It's a Seawhite sketchbook. I haven't used this kind before, but it's got good reviews and I like the design of it, so I thought I'd give it a go. I do have some smaller sketchbooks knocking around, but the paper wouldn't be able to withstand having a lot of stuff glued to it, and with this paper at least I have the option of doing that and then drawing and painting on the actual paper. I don't know how well it'll hold water or paint, so I might have to keep it dry or do a few experiments, maybe layer out some gesso first before painting. Anyway, I wanted something simple for this page, and at the time I'm filming this, it's just coming to the end of Inktober, and I've been really enjoying doing all these misty and foggy looking paintings. So I went with trying to use tracing paper to get a really layered misty effect where the trees on the sheets of paper further down look further away and it all kind of fades into the distance. I pre-cut the tracing paper before I started filming so it would fit the page. And I've got a round cutter for the corners so I won't have sharp edges sticking out of the rounded sketchbook. As you've probably already seen, there are a few instances where my hair goes into the frame, so apologies for that. And back to the drawing, I'm using a Grafwood 4B pencil, and while I was drawing the bottom layer on the actual sketchbook paper, I wasn't being too bothered about the detail or how well the trees turn out or anything, because the more I layer up the tracing paper, the more blurred looking and less contrast this layer will have, so you won't really be able to tell by the time it's finished what this actual layer looks like. I made the mistake of trying to glue by putting the Pritt stick over the actual drawing, which was a bad idea because it ended up smudging the graphite, but the layers of tracing paper ended up compensating for it, so it all turned out fine anyway. And I glued by applying the Pritt stick to the tracing paper instead, which is a bit awkward because it ends up curling the edges of the pages, and then I tried to make sure the tracing paper lay as flat as I could while I glued it. One mistake I made here was not gluing the centre, as I only went around the edges of the tracing paper, because there's a bit of a gap between the layers which ended up making the bottom layer look further back than I wanted it to in the middle. But it's not hugely noticeable, it's only a small minor mistake. I carried on the same process with the rest of the layers, except I didn't draw the trees in exactly the same place each time. If I did that, then there'd be almost no point to having the layers. I still wanted the layers underneath to be visible, I just wanted the trees to look further back, so I kept using the space I set myself for each cluster of trees that hadn't been fully submerged in fog, and then I drew the trees that I wanted to stand out on each particular layer. I'm not particularly good at calligraphy, as you'll see in a minute, which is why I didn't glue down the page that I end up writing on immediately, and in case it didn't turn out how I wanted it straight away. It's kind of funny because it was only after I glued it down that I realised how much the bottom words looked off, so I ended up having to create another layer over the top to try to disguise it. Later on I start going in with the rounded corner cutters. I didn't realise how much pressure I'd have to apply to try to cut through all these layers at once. And I was going to call this page complete, but the lettering was really annoying me. Something was just off about it, so I ended up going over the layer below, but trying to make it so that it's correct this time, and seeing if I could pass off the lower layer as some kind of misty lettering effect. After doing that, I was slightly more satisfied with the lettering, but still not completely satisfied. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, because it's tracing paper. I could just quite easily get some nice lettering up on the computer screen and then trace over there. I don't know how much of a regular thing this art journal will be. I guess it'll be filled with other kinds of media tests that I want to try out, like this tracing paper one, or drawings or paintings based off life events, bits of really loose experiments, maybe stuff inspired by recent events and things in the media, like an Bohemian Rhapsody is coming out soon, so that might end up as an art journal page. But I'm excited to see where this will end up going. It's just a fun experimental sketchbook at the moment, and I want to see what it turns into. Now that I've stuck down a layer of tracing paper, I was beginning to slightly regret gluing all the sides instead of just the top one, so you can't lift up the layers one by one, but at least this way you don't end up with all the layers annoying you every time you want to open your sketchbook, and not accidentally end up creasing or tearing them because they tend to flap around quite a lot. So maybe I did end up making the right decision. Anyway, that's all for now. I don't think the next page will be all that long off, but in the meantime I will have my Inktober 2018 sketchbook tour. I really enjoyed making this one, so hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye!